Good morning. This is Lisa Grennan from MWR Family Programs, and welcome to everyone who's joining us today. We are doing Introduction to Mindfulness with Dr. Marti Peters-Sparling, and Dr. Marti is a family medicine physician with 15 years experience, and she practices now at SWMI in Kalamazoo. And Dr. Marti specializes and has training in mindfulness based stress reduction through Beaumont Center for Mindfulness and Brown University. She has been in medical school at Wayne State University, School of Medicine in Detroit, and a residency at Oakwood Annapolis Hospital in Wayne, Michigan, and resides currently in Kalamazoo for about 10 years. So welcome, Dr. Marti, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you. I'm very happy to be here in this brief but hopefully thorough intro to mindfulness. I will do my best to give you some highlights and give you some good experience. So I would like to make this as interactive as possible. I know some of you are on the phone, so that's a little bit harder. But if we can share, ask questions, put messages in the chat, I will do my best to respond to those and watch for those. I would love it if you want to turn your screen on, because we're talking about being present and aware. And so you're kind of forced to do that when the camera is on, but I understand if you can't too. So I did want to just give a little bit of a discussion about what mindfulness is, and I have a few slides that I can share. But I thought to start, for those of you that can access the chat box, when you think of mindfulness, or when you've heard other people talk about mindfulness, what sort of images or words do you associate it with? If you want to unmute and just shout them out, you can do that too. But if you want to type some things into the chat box, what words come to mind when you hear mindfulness, or what do you hear other people saying? So I see focus, being mindful of your surroundings, quieting your mind, being present. Those all sound like great things. Anything else? Well, those are definitely some great examples. Here we go, getting back in touch with nature. I'm going to try to share screen here. See if I can get the slide form. So can we see that okay, hopefully?
Perfect.
So I like to quote Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn. If any of you know of him, he's a biochemist out of University of Massachusetts who started teaching meditation to medical students, and then he moved on to patients, and he created something called the Mindfulness Based Stress Reduction course, which is an 8-week course. And he defines mindfulness as paying attention in a particular way. It's on purpose, it's in the present moment, and it's non-judgmentally. I like his shorter definition of it, which is wise and affectionate attention. The wisdom is the purpose, the doing it with intention. The affectionate part is doing it without judgment. And then the attention is staying in the present moment. So if you want a short definition of it, wise and affectionate attention is a great simple definition for it. Just a brief, oops, not too far. Just a brief touch on what meditation and mindfulness are not. So you can see a picture here of someone levitating. So I have yet to achieve levitation, and I don't know many meditators that have. We're really not trying to reach any sort of alternate states. Whether you practice meditation or mindfulness, we're not trying to go somewhere or empty the mind necessarily. it's really more about being more aware and present of what your normal state is. What is your mind normally doing? That's enough without trying to figure some other new alternate state of mind. It's also not a quick fix. If you are hoping to change some stress or anxiety in your life, if you have some bad habits you'd like to change, it's probably taken you years to get to that point where these habits are ingrained in your life. And so you're not going to turn those around with just a couple meditation sessions. It's going to take some time and some effort to change those habits and to maybe decrease the stress in your life. I think meditation and mindfulness can do that, but it certainly is going to take commitment to some time and to making some changes. It's also not a cure-all. This doesn't necessarily work for everything. If you're in a really bad job or a really bad relationship, then sometimes the mindful thing is to look for another job or to look into that relationship. There are some things that meditation just aren't going to help. And so we're here to try to figure out what's really going on and what is the best thing. It's also not therapy, especially if you've had a lot of stress or trauma in your life, if you have a lot of significant anxiety and depression. Sometimes when you sit quietly and you listen to that and you really pay attention to it, it can start to bring some things up that are maybe a little bit difficult. So in that case, it's probably best to talk to a therapist about it. Or if you do have a meditation instructor, talk to them about it. Meditation should never make you feel more anxious or more stressed or more agitated. So if that's happening, then sometimes there are just some things you need to change in your approach and some different ways to approach a meditation, but quite often a therapist can help you work through that better. I see a question. Oh, someone says they can't hear me. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. I don't know, there's someone that can't hear. So hopefully we can
hear.
Okay. All right. So then this next screen, again, what is mindfulness? It's intentional. It's really kind of setting a plan to be more focused and aware. It's reconnecting with both the mind and the body. We carry a lot of emotions and things in our bodies. So part of it is really feeling into those. It's about listening deeply to what's here in the present and doing it with a kind and affectionate manner. If you can see this graphic, I really like this. This person here is walking and the mind is just full of stuff. And then the dog has this nice, calm, mindful mind. So as much as I like it, sometimes the mind is just full, and that's what you need to be aware of. So sometimes maybe sounds are especially loud and jarring to you. Sometimes you're maybe sitting and worrying about something that you have to do tomorrow, and your mind is just constantly on that. Or sometimes you're worrying about something that happened in the past. And mindfulness is really being aware of what's going on in your mind. Maybe it's really busy. Maybe it's got a lot of worries and fears, or maybe there's a lot going on, and that's useful to know. The first time I started meditating and paying attention, I couldn't believe the places my mind went, the stories it created, the long tales. I was writing movies in my mind sometimes, and it was a little bit shocking. So it's valuable to know that, so that you can maybe make some shifts and changes. Oh, someone wants to steal the graphic. So I stole it from somebody else, so I don't know who to give credit to. Just so you know. So I would like to just do a little less talking and maybe a little more practicing of some mindful things. But before I move on to that, are there any other questions? All right, so looks like everyone can hear now, so that's good. Well, I'd like to have everyone, if you're willing and you'd like to participate, you certainly don't have to, but I thought we would do just some really gentle movement first, because I don't know what you've been doing all day, if you've been sitting in front of a computer or Even if you've been running around, sometimes some gentle movements can be helpful. So I'm going to move from some movement practices and then into kind of a meditation. So you can do this sitting, standing, wherever you are. Pick, a comfortable spot, and eyes can stay open or you can close them. It's completely up to you. But just to start with some movement, maybe actually just settling into your surroundings a little bit, looking around wherever you are, taking a couple of breaths. And then taking your arms and just very slowly raising them up overhead. You can either keep them straight or slightly bent. But feeling the arms, breathing in and out, and then slowly bringing them back down. And once more, slowly raising arms up overhead. And this time reaching tall, maybe stretching the back, looking upwards, and then slowly coming back down. Feeling that whole movement of the arms. And now turning your head gently to the side. You can turn it one way, just feeling a gentle stretch, looking over the shoulder. And very slowly coming back around and looking over the other shoulder. There's no need to strain, just feeling the movement. And slowly coming back to the front, gently looking upwards again. And only going as far as you feel safe. And then slowly dropping chin down to chest. And coming back up. And now dropping your ear down towards your shoulder on one side. And lifting the head and dropping it down to the other shoulder. Lifting the head once more. Now we're going to turn the head and then continue with the shoulders and the whole upper body for a little spinal twist. And slowly coming around to the front. And then slowly twisting to the left, starting with the head and then the shoulders. And coming around to the front again. And now raising your shoulders up towards your ears. And then rotating them down and around. You can move with the breath. Just slowly moving. And then changing directions. And then coming to a little pause. Seeing for a moment how your body feels right now. Is it stiff or tingling? And now we're kind of a seated cat and cow, if you know what that is. So for the cat, we're going to pull your belly button in and kind of round your back. And then reversing, pushing your belly out and opening the chest. Pulling in and rounding again. And pushing out and opening. Maybe do that once more, in and out. And then once more back to resting. So sometimes if our mind has been busy, we've been working, thinking, planning, we lose touch with those physical sensations. So seeing what's here, now that you've moved a little bit and maybe reconnected with some of those sensations. So people are saying they feel better, feel relaxed, and maybe you don't, and that's okay too. Maybe you didn't realize how stiff you were until you started moving. So moving from that kind of movement into more of a meditation. So you can stay where you are and eyes can still stay open. Sometimes it's helpful to just lower them a little bit, so that might help with some distractions, but if you'd like, you can close them too. But noticing right now how your body feels as you sit here. After that movement, maybe there are some thoughts in the mind. Maybe you're thinking about what comes next, or lunchtime. Maybe your stomach is growling. Try to find a neutral point in your body. So some people like to choose their breath. It's something to focus on, especially if your mind wanders away, you can come back to your breath. Some like to focus more on the feelings in their hands, or maybe contact points with your floor or your chair, feeling that pressure. So if your mind wanders off, and it often does, come back to that kind of neutral point. And sometimes sounds are helpful too. If there's a whirring fan or something, that could be your point of focus too. But just choose one. Thoughts will come and go. Some may be more pleasant and you want to grab onto them. Some may be less pleasant and you want to push them away. So just noticing what comes up. And then come back to that neutral focal point. There may be other sensations in your body. Maybe there's some pain. Again, acknowledging what's here. Maybe breathing into it a little bit. Seeing if it shifts or changes. And then returning to the breath or the hands. And if there is something that's uncomfortable, it's okay to listen to your body and adjust your posture a little. There's no need to remain stiff or rigid. And if something keeps pulling you away, a thought or a pain in your back, sometimes the mindful thing is to pay attention to that for a moment. See what your body's trying to tell you. And then gently come back. Come back to the breath or your neutral anchor. Now you can bring some movement to your body, maybe wiggle your fingers and toes. And if your eyes have been closed, you can open them. And then gently coming back. Someone said they might do this before bed and sleep a little better. That's many people do meditations or body scans before bed. I'm going to stop my screen share here. There's a quote I wanted to share too. I can find it now. So the quote is by a meditation instructor named Jack Kornfield. And the graphic, the mindful versus mindful, reminds me of this. And he says, if you can sit quietly after difficult news, if in financial downturn, you remain perfectly calm, if you can see your neighbors travel to fantastic places without a twinge of jealousy, If you can happily eat whatever is put on your plate, you can fall asleep after a day of running around without a drink or a pill. If you can always find contentment just where you are probably a dog. And that graphic where the dog is the one with the mindful mind and the human is the one with the busy mind fits perfectly with that. So our goal is to, yes, of course, we want to be more at peace, more relaxed, more calm, but we also want to know what's really going on in our heads, what's really happening in our bodies, because we so often are ignoring that stuff and just staying focused on whatever we think we're supposed to be doing, or we're distracting ourselves with video games or TV or some other substance. And we're kind of avoiding some of that stuff that's going on. So mindfulness is about really actually paying attention to what's really here. So any questions for me?
Dr. Marti, this was wonderful. I was going so many different directions this morning. And so I don't know about everyone else, but this was fantastic. It reminds you just to slow down and pay attention. And it was nice just to look up into my window and see those clouds floating by and not worrying about all the things just for that little bit of time made a huge difference in the relaxation of my body for sure.
Yeah, good. And sometimes, just taking 5 minutes to kind of sit and maybe look outside. The nature's so grounding. It's so easy to connect to, especially I love fall. So it's beautiful outside right now. And I encourage you to take those moments, even if they're short, to just really sit and be present.
And
So I had a good time. Sorry.
Likely he has his puppy there. It looks like a little puppy he's got, since you were mentioning dogs.
Oh yeah. If only we could all be like a dog.
Right? The honorable mention to the puppy. So thank you so much for presenting today and taking time out of your busy schedule to do that. It's really important for mindfulness. And I know it's a newer concept and it really is helpful. So thank you so much.
Yeah, new but old. So yeah. Well, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for attending.
Take care.